Well, good afternoon, everyone. Great pleasure to see you all here. I missed, I think, the last episodes or two last episodes. So I'm really happy to be back now. Today is our 11th episode of season 4 and almost the end of the season. And we're going to talk about innovation that makes a difference. And it's a great pleasure for me to have you, Maria, with us. So Maria Öhman, she's program manager at Vinnova, the Swedish innovation agency. And she will present a funding scheme that is run by Vinnova that supports collaboration projects between Swedish companies and experts, and necessary expert support from native research organizations or private service companies. She will be there together with Ed, who will also help driving the discussions. But before we jump into the subject, I invite you all to grab your cup, turn on your cameras, give us a big smile, and I let Pierrette do the magic.
Oops, that's gonna get distracted down.
Yes. All right, now 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. So Maria, I hand you the screen.
Thank you so much. I see if I'll succeed again. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a really pleasure to follow all the coffee sessions last years. It's really nice. But maybe, okay, change slide, please. And so what's Vinnova? We are a government agency under the Swedish Ministry of Enterprise and Innovation. And we are 200 employees in Stockholm, but we work internationally. And in total, I have a handful of colleagues also being placed in Brussels, Silicon Valley, and Tel Aviv. And with the responsibility to strengthen Sweden's innovations capacity, we are supporting research and development by funding innovation in early stages and by promoting new partnerships. And
there's a timer on, so if it goes past, sorry.
It's perfect. It's a little bit too early for that one, but it doesn't matter. And I just want to say that just to have a brief understanding of our size and so on, last year we financed more than 3,500 projects for totally 300 million euros. And we are also the liaison authority for the EU framework program for research and innovation. And we have innovation collaborations with a number of countries. And now it's actually time for these slides that you see right now. Our way of working is that we continuously identify needs and opportunities together with all stakeholders. And where additional efforts are required to strengthen the ability to innovate, then we develop and initiate appropriate efforts to mobilize around. And you can say that we provide lubricants for the machinery to start spinning. And we use various funding tools for this, and open calls for proposals is one of these. Please, Madison. Sweden, we have a long and strong tradition of close collaborations between companies and research and innovation partners from academy and from research institutes or from other innovation actors, but also public sectors and other stakeholders. That's a bit too early. Still time. As well as with public, sure. We have chosen also to work with instruments that both our companies and researchers are used to. And this includes a multitude of funding schemes based on collaboration. And they are both top-down as the funding scheme that I will also describe later here, but also large stakeholder-driven bottom-up programs. And they address research and innovation areas to meet the global challenges. Please, Madison. And now we saw also examples of these areas, of course. Utilization of neutron and synchrotron-based tools that we are discussing here today, they are, of course, of direct relevance for several of these programs. And that could be pharma, medtech, bio-based materials, metallic materials, production and lightweight solutions, minerals, 2D materials, and other smart material solutions, and of course also material circularity aspects. And when Vinnova decided to contribute to increased competence and understanding on how the unique tools at large-scale infrastructures could be used in industry and society, then it became a really suitable add-on for several already ongoing collaborative relations that already used, for instance, home-based techniques or modeling together. And by stimulating already existing structures in our innovation system, we believe that we enable increased awareness in both relevant and also cost-efficient way. These national thematic arenas, they simplify and they catalyze matchmaking, and that lower the threshold for companies of all sizes to first engage with the applied researchers in development work. But these consortia, in turn, they provide platforms to take the step towards further collaborations with expert users of even less accessible enablers. And that could be large-scale research infrastructures, of course, but also AI, etc. Please, Madison. This dedicated support for industrial utilization of synchrotron and neutron sources, that was, of course, designed in the context of MAX4 and ESS being established in south of Sweden. And the project, the concept of the project, it must be based on the development need of a Swedish company, which is also a project participant. And representatives from the company shall aim to participate in the experiment as it's conducted also. And as you see here, the maximum funding is about 50,000 euros. It's actually a little bit less than that. We don't have any requirements for co-funding apart from potential funding required by the companies, which of course then subject to the EU state aid regulations for research, development and innovation. The proposal, they are not assessed for excellence or novelty, but it's very important that they ensure that we can ensure that we use the large-scale infrastructures in a resource-efficient and relevant way. So they must describe all the relevant preparatory work that they have done and identified limitations with in-house laboratory-based techniques. And for this reason, the funding scheme is designed to require that the supporting actors are identified and already part of the concept at the proposal stage. So all projects are planned and carried out in partnership with at least one Swedish supporting actor that contribute with necessary skills. And that could be from academia, Industrial Research Institute, or a mediator company, exactly as Ann-Charlotte also told initially here. And if a non-Swedish organization involved in the project, they can do so if they finance their own costs, because each project can actually host also additional project partners. But all project participants in the consortia, they apply with their own budget. And that means also that the larger share goes to the supporting organizations in that case that are providing the expertise. Perfect that you changed. I can change medicine. It was perfect.
Okay.
I was just going to discuss that. The project plan itself, that must include implementation of at least one experiment at large scale facility. Some actually has more. And even after completion of MAX4 and ESS will not be able to offer all types of experiments of relevance for Swedish industry. So international facilities are of course important complements. We allow all types of access, and beam time does not need to have been approved when the proposal is submitted to Vinnova, but the proposal itself should motivate how an experiment is expected to be technically feasible and also possible to carry out with respect to the project time and budget allocated. So now it's exactly 3 years ago since the first 20 pilot projects were funded, and we can now count to 105 of this type. And that has also engaged more than 80 individual needs-opening companies. Please, Madison. And this list is actually those, and I know that some of you might not be so familiar with all these Swedish companies. So this dividing into different categories is my own. So of course some should possibly be in several of these. And the applications that they are doing also in the experiment can, of course, also have been better fitted in a different region. But I just wanted to give a brief overview also. You see that there are quite a lot of projects also in metallurgy and metallic materials in construction. And these are actually mainly larger companies. But for instance, in pharma, we have even more small and medium-sized. And in the other areas, it's quite a large mixture, actually, of all sizes. But the projects, they have also been very different from each other regarding setup. Some set aside a budget for paid beam time, which may also be necessary if you strive for relevant experiments for the company, less likely to get free beam time based on excellence and novelty and use value. But others, they strive for free beam time, and they can then spend a little bit more budget on advanced data analysis, for instance, in imaging and so on, or sample preparations, and not seldom important in the pharma part. And some provide also greater in kind than required or requested by us, or additional support actors that take part by financing their own costs. And the latter has resulted in projects that reach further, both in terms of industry-relevant method developments and strengthen collaborations also with beamline scientists at the different facilities. So hopefully the company representatives have all realized added value compared to analysis techniques at standard labs, and also increased understanding how to access the equipment to carry out experiment. Please, Madison, if you may change the slide. And now I try to do it myself on the computer also here. The funding offer, as you saw, is quite generous, and it's in order to stimulate a new behavior and new relationships. But regardless how the was received, the outcome shall result in a one-pager for public dissemination, and that should describe industrial challenge and also motivate the use for the large-scale facility, facts about the experiment and the outcome. And these PDF files of the concluded projects, as well as a short description of the ongoing projects, they are found on a web page. If you please change the slide again, Madison. You can see the web page there. I can also send information to any of you who would like this more in detail. And I have collected then the projects based on application areas in line with how several synchrotron and neutron facilities themselves display industry cases. And yesterday, we uploaded the end of project report number 50, which means that half of the projects have ended, while some are, of course, severely delayed, also due to the pandemic. And please, Madison, I think I have now the second last slide, because I also wanted to show also how these examples are used and displayed as at MAX's industry arena, which some of you may have heard from collaboration between MAX4 and ESS and some other Swedish actors that are displaying or utilization of these reports in an even more easily accessed way. So please have a look in these by page 2. And then the last slide, where I wanted to just give a little bit additional data regarding the experiments, because now they have all in total been performed or planned for at MAX4 and 15 additional neutron synchrotron facilities in 10 countries. And you see that we have quite a lot of use also of Petra 3, where we also, of course, have the Swedish materials beamlines P21, and then a large collaboration. The expert support we have came from 15 different organizations of various characters, as you see there. And as written in the last point here, we want actively to widen the bottleneck regarding skilled resources with capacity to bridge between the true need and the right solution. that have knowledge in both technology and applications, and that are willing to provide the capacity required as resources, either for as research partners or as contract service providers long term. So I think that was, you can please change with thank you. And the next one is contact data. But thank you so much for listening.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm still bowled over by the scheme. I love it to bits, extremely jealous and envious. At least we've got our first proposals coming to the SRF now after our closure. I know Arno is listening if he's still here. Is he still there? I can't see him.
Yeah.
Somewhere there, I can't see him all the stuff. But Arno, please copy this for France. I know you're listening. It doesn't cost very much money, and the results are stunning, right? Over 100 companies, over 100 projects, 80 different companies, right? 10 different sectors. Europe should copy it as well. I'm not going to keep on yakking on, so people just jump in, right? But I was wondering, and I'm going to be maybe a little bit insulting here, Maria. Sweden is a modest scale country, right? And you've done loads of projects there with 80 companies. Are you running out?
Running out of companies?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
As you know, Ed, also, we have also had variations of this funding scheme. Not only this, we also had the first year some possibilities to do preparatory studies also for even less funding. And this year we also added a module where you can actually do a little bit larger projects for 3 times the funding amount, with also some co-funding. And with that, we also put a restriction on this pilot project offer, because from now on, previously a company could apply several times, and that also happened, of course. But now, when we also have the second offer, then a company who wants to move further and use it again can do that, provided co-funding, and it's only one per company. So that, of course, limits the use of this for new companies to use it. I still think we have a few. And
still got some capacity to go. And Charlotte, you've lobbed up your hand.
Yeah, thanks. I have actually, I'm curious about the success rate, because when it comes to European applications, it's always about the success rate. And we know like some countries are not that good, and others are better. But you have about 100 projects that have been funded, but how many did you receive?
We received quite good proposals. For instance, I can say you've been an assessor here, and we don't really strive for a low access rate. We want to find good projects, and actually sometimes, not the least now this year, we also managed to increase the budget to fund even more projects. So I'm not really looking at the hit rate when it comes to approved and not approved projects, but of course we are not approving the one lacking in quality, and that has been a few, or missing some parts in competence.
But does the application process, I mean, is it a heavy application process? I mean, of course you need to justify and have a good proposal, but in terms of like difficulties to access or to apply, is it hard to apply, or is it like if you have a good project, you have a lot of chances?
It's a one-step process, actually. So if you're not approved, you have to try again another time. So we don't have an interactive process with applicants. It's a one-shot, and have really good assessor groups, mainly from international neutron and synchrotron facilities. Some more
mainly
in industrial utilization, of course, but also beamline scientists in general, in order to cover all the possible techniques and application areas that applicants can apply for. So it's really.
I think one of I know there's Nikolai's got his hand up and stuff like that. The real killer here is like they're not aiming for nature front covers. So the research, I'm going to be a bit harsh again, right? The research can be quite dull, but it's so technologically and industrially relevant, it should get done. And that's some of the reviewing that Maria is asking us to do, is to be based on that. And that's really key, because they're not going to get access through the normal peer review access times. And the fact that beam time is a legible cost allows us to react really fast at the synchrotrons and the neutron sources to provide the access. And yeah, Nikolai, maybe.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I was wondering about the impact. So one thing is that you're doing these one pages and that's a success criteria in itself. But are you planning to do any follow up on how is the impact in the involved companies?
Yeah, I plan to do an outreach, of course, to the companies involved. Now, when we also have more projects finalized, which it was a delay also due to the COVID. So now we received more again. So we'll try to do that. But some of the communities are also engaged in dedicated large-scale infrastructure, for instance, the metal industry, the pharma and biomaterials and so on. So I have got quite a good contact also with the companies and also the research organizations. I think one of the most important impacts are also, as I mentioned on the last slide, to actually securing more intermediates to do both the research or the work together with also providing outreach or using these one-pagers.
Yeah, the one-pagers are such a valuable output. Frida, I can see you.
Yes, I just wanted you to put in the chat the link to this page on Vinnova's webpage. Yes. For the different reports. It would be interesting for all, I think.
There's a lot of mining to be done there.
Yeah.
Actually, also if someone wants to receive the one-pagers put together in one file, the 50, just send me an email and you can receive the file.
Thanks.
You have to go into
coming to you, Caroline. Arnold has asked in the chat, not that you can all see it, but anyway, Arnold says, is there any feedback on the results obtained through, maybe it's too early, feedback on the results that have been done with these studies? And if the innovation has there been any actual sort of genuine innovation created as a result of the work that has been done? Sorry, that was very crap English, even by my standards. Is there real innovation that's come out of doing the work that you can point to?
I think it's easily more easy if you look at the one-pagers. I haven't followed up on the projects, but several of these are parts of already ongoing developments. Okay. Using that's been going on for sometimes several years in metal with lab-based techniques and so on. And I think the main thing here is also that several, at least for metallic materials and constructions, that they learned how to that is in situ and in operando. And I think that, as I also mentioned, continue to work with relevant experimental environments, for instance, in order to take the innovation further. But that doesn't mean that all those tools are there yet. It's the first steps. Sometimes they are, and sometimes we also could start to do modifications for enabling new experiments. I think that's depending a little bit on which application area it has been. But we see that that steps are taken in collaboration projects there. We have also seen projects with several companies together, co-funding also development works with experimental environments. And so
on. The nice thing is, I mean, you're also funding it. It's not a scary amount of money. It's like 50K, but it's an amount that you can actually do something civilized with. In the Tomato SME access scheme that Alejandro and the gang down at Alba were running in Calypso Plus, it's very modest funding for an SME to get like an access for a feasibility of 2 to 3K. But I think the important thing with what you've been doing is having the critical mass in funding to allow a little bit more level of work to be done. Caroline, hello.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Maria. Sorry, I missed the first minutes of your talk, so maybe you addressed this point, but I'm curious to learn how does it start for small companies somewhere in Sweden, looking at this call for projects from Vinnova, when they have no clue about synchrotron or neutron techniques, how they can start thinking about it?
Vinnova is not the one doing the outreach for companies. We trust our intermediate research actors to do that. And I think that the smaller SME companies involved in the scheme so far has not been new to research infrastructure or collaborative work. And this is an add-on that their research partners are bringing to them. And also of the smaller companies involved in the scheme so far, I also think that many of them already work with smart and new materials, not seldom also originating maybe from research at the university. Mm-hmm. So they have been quite research intense. Okay. I think that the companies that you maybe are aiming at, that we want to lift up to do innovation or use advanced tools at all, I think they benefit largely from actually having these cases. Mm-hmm. So larger companies or the more innovative, small, research strong companies go ahead in a way. That was also crap English, but showing the path and actually through these examples and also making the research intermediates stronger, and also with arguments. They can actually say that you cannot, in the future, you can do in situ and operando work with the large-scale infrastructures, but we also have to ensure that they actually have the methods suitable for it and the experimental environment ready to do the work, and not saying you have to wait 3 years for to build on what's already there, and baby steps, and maybe.
Okay. No, the baby steps are still 50k size steps, which is pretty chunky in some ways, in many ways. We've run out of questions coming from the rabble, which is okay, because we're half an hour for a coffee. I just still say, Arno, I don't know whether Arno's still there. Please copy it. EIC, please copy it. UK, please copy it. Germany, all of our member states from the SRF, please copy it, because it's fantastic. Thank you for your time, Maria. Did you put the link in the chat?
I failed because
you failed.
I'm looking at my small laptop, and I failed to copy the link in the process.
That's all right. I'm sure we'll circulate it somehow.
If someone else.
All right. Hang on. One last question. Go on, jump in. Oh, sorry.
The file.
Yeah, we'll share. We can share the presentation.
Oh no, the hand has gone down again. Is the hand up or the hand down? You don't know.
I think it was an applause.
Okay. Ready. Thank you, Maria, and hand back to Anne-Charlotte.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maria. I think it was very interesting, and yeah, definitely, like all the countries, please take over the model, and the EU as well. Maybe we can get some help there. So next week is our last episode of season 4 before Christmas. Season 5, we will meet again in 2022 with a slightly different format. We will meet on a monthly basis as from next year. And next week, we're going to receive Maria Öhman from European Science Foundation, and she will present us the CATRIS project achievements. And we hope to see you all soon again. Have a great week, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.